Hi and welcome to the Crafty Whisk. Ollie here with you today. And I know Christmas is finished, but I couldn't get this video up in time, but it doesn't really matter because this can be used all year round as a little gift bag or chocolate holder or a treat bag for a birthday party. It's really, really cute. It holds a fair whack of chocolates and lollies in there too. It's held together by ribbon, so it's easy to undo and do back up again. And as you can see, I've got about 5 chocolates in there. If you're using lollies, you can get even more in there. It's a pretty cool idea. You can hang them off your Christmas tree, or you can just give them out as party favours. It's using a die set from Snazzi Scrappin, an Australian company, and it's called Pyramid Chocolate Holder. It has a fair few dies in there. This is the base die, which makes the actual pyramid, and then also comes with your layering dies for the papers that you want to use on there, and also little sentiment dies as well. And as you can see by my pile of card here, I've got a fair few to make. So I managed to make them all in time for Christmas, but I didn't manage to get the video up in time. So today, because I am making a few, I'm not going to use my manual die cutting machine. I'm going to use my electric one, which is by Couture Creations, and it's called a Go Power and Emboss machine. If you're in Australia, this is probably the electronic go-to machine, because Geminis can be a little bit tricky to buy here. But if you're in other parts of the world, especially in the US, the Gemini machines are probably the equivalent. And I think Sizzix also now has an electronic machine, which is pretty much available worldwide. And I just used some low-tack tape to secure it there. It's a new tape I'm trialling. It's by Crafters Essentials and it's called Easy C, and it comes in a few different colours as well. And if you can hear weird noises, I do apologise. My daughter's cat is playing on my craft table. So as you can see, it leaves you the embossing lines, and you can either decorate it while it's flat or decorate it once you've burnished each of those score lines. So I'm just going to cut out all of the decorative papers at the same time. The paper I'm using here is a self-adhesive foil. I got it from a $2 shop, and I don't think I'll be buying more of it because it took a few goes through the machine to actually get it to cut through, and then to actually use it, it was really tricky. It is pretty, but it's tricky to use. So I'm actually using a very particular one-way directional paper here, which has little dogs on it. So I need to make sure that I'm going to put the decorative papers the correct way, which is what I'm doing there. I just sort of folded it up a little bit, put the die in there to see what orientation the die needs to be on the paper. And now I'm trying to make it work. I've only got 2 sheets of this 6x6 paper, and you do need at least 1.5 sheets of the paper for the decorative bits. So I'm sort of fiddling around, trying to get it to all work. And then in the end, I thought, oh, it doesn't matter if some of the dogs are a little bit skew if no one's really going to notice. So you need 1 of the big triangle, 1 of the smaller triangle, and then 4 of those funny notched out triangles. And that leaves you one side of your pyramid which will be blank. So you can either use one of the bigger triangles to put white card on there if you wanted to write a message on there, or you can decorate it, or you can leave it plain. I left mine plain. And as you can see, the foil paper, even though it's very thin, it didn't cut through. So I've got to pop that through again with my second sheet with the extra 2 little pieces of dog paper. And once you get on a roll with these, if you've got a few to make, it really doesn't take very long. I think it took me a day to make. That's, you know, with lunch and stuff in between. I made 12, I think, from memory. They go together really quickly once all the cutting's done. Right, so we're going to decorate it now. So you start off, or I started off, just using the large triangle. And this foil paper was terrible. You couldn't adjust it. Once a bit of it grabs, you just got to go with it. So I was hoping that it wouldn't buckle. I did not get it perfectly centered, but it doesn't really matter in the end. You're not going to notice it. And then it's just a matter of layering up the other pieces. You can use glue, double-sided tape, tape runner, whatever you have to hand. It doesn't matter. And I've got to make sure the puppy dogs are facing the right way up. So that will effectively be the front. And then it's just a matter of making sure that the little corner ones are the right orientation, and then just stick them down as well. You really do get value for money with the Snazzi Scrappin kits. There's a lot of dies in there. You get a lot of bang for your buck. And they come already separated. You don't have to use your little pliers to take them apart from each other. They're already separated, which is wonderful. Now I'm going to punch a hole in the top of mine so they can be hung from a Christmas tree. Just use any circle hole punch, or crocodile, I think they're called as well. You can use one of those. And now I'm just burnishing all the score lines so that it's nice and easy to fold up. Probably should have done the centre one first, but I learned from this one to do it first, which is that little bit easier. So now to actually assemble it, you need a piece of ribbon. I cut up 20 inches of like a gauze type of ribbon because I'm not very good at doing bows. So that's what I used. And then for the top little hole that I cut, I just used a piece of like a silver twine, silver twine. And after this one, I learned it's easier to do the little hole at the top first. So the first two, you go the outside in, and the next two, it's the inside out, if that makes sense. That gives you the neatest presentation at the end. So outside to the inside, and then the inside to the outside. And then it's just a matter of tying it up however you want to tie it up. But first you've got to put the goodies in. You can't forget that. Being Christmas, there's always chocolates on sale. So I just sort of put a little assortment in. These ones were for my work colleagues for Christmas, and they loved them. These would actually be really good as place settings as well, because with the two little the smallest 2 dies in the kit. You can pop someone's name on it. I actually just used Merry Christmas, I think it was, on mine. I embossed it. But you could pop the person's name on there and use it as a place setting. You could put kids' names on there if you're using them as party favours. It's pretty much endless what you could use these things for. And they're really attractive. They're really pretty. And it looks like you've spent ages on them, and you really haven't. Because we're 10 minutes in and we've pretty much finished the first one if you wanted to leave it at this stage. But you can use these 2 dies to actually put the person's name, like I said, or a message on there. Now, Snazzi Scrappin does sell a Christmas set of stamps. No, sorry, Christmas set of stickers. And the Merry Christmas from that fits perfectly inside here. But I didn't think of buying that at the time. I thought for sure I'd have something that would fit in there, and I didn't. So I'm just using my mini Heffy Doodle here because it's such a small little die to cut out. It's just easier to bring out this little machine, which always sits on my desk. And then I had to rummage around and try and find a stamp that would fit in there. So I did that off screen. So I'm using the Misty here just so that I can make sure that it's going to stamp in the correct place on all of the tags, because I'm doing a fair few. So first you put on your embossing anti-static powder. You can buy those in a little brush form like I've got there, and I've also got the little baggy form as well. And that just gets rid of any static that's on the paper, because embossing powder will stick to anything. But if you use this powder, it's really, really good. It doesn't stick everywhere. So I've just used clear embossing ink. And I'm going to use white embossing powder on it. Because it's so small, I'm using tweezers so I don't burn my hands with the heat gun. I'm just doing one to screen here, but afterwards I just did a whole heap of these and heated them all up in one go. It was much quicker. And remember to always warm your heat gun up before you actually use it. Then it doesn't warp your paper and it melts the embossing powder very quickly. And if you do have any of the anti-static powder that we put on before the embossing, if you've got any of that left, you just use a cloth and just wipe over the piece of paper and it all comes off. And now that's ready to stick on. If you use the smaller one, the larger one that I've got here will matte the smaller one. But because I've used the larger one, I have to somehow think of making it look like I've matted it. So what I did is I just used the Creative Memories glue pen and went around the very edge and then sprinkled glitter on it. So it looked like I've matted it onto a bit of silver glitter card. So it was a bit more fiddly than what I had intended, but I had to work around the size of the stamp that I had. Now you can just use white card and write your greeting if you've got nice writing. Or you can also use an embossing pen and write what you want written on there, and then use embossing powder and heat it up like I did here, but it's actually the embossing ink is in a pen form. So that's a few other options you can use. The glitter was easy enough for me anyway. It didn't really matter. It looked quite pretty. And then you just use an adhesive to stick that on. I can't brush the excess glitter off until the glue's dry though, so there was a few speckles of glitter hanging on there that didn't need to be on there, but once it's dry then you can just brush it off. I need to refill my little glue pot by the look of it. So you just pop that on. I had to be careful not to dislodge the glitter. And now it's done. Isn't that cute? And there's a few that I had to make. So I made them, they're all Christmas themed, but I used different papers. And the cardstock for the base, you're best off using something that is minimum 65 pound or 176 GSM, just so it stands up to the handling. The pattern papers on top, use whatever, doesn't matter. Aren't they sweet? Imagine these for kids' birthday parties. You'll blow the other parents' minds. I'll put all the items in the description below that I've used. And please don't forget to subscribe and like and share. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.